Okay guys, here we are with part 2 of my life in pictures. Really no need for a big intro or any kind of bullshit like that. We're just going to dive right into it. This is probably about 1999 as the wrestler Lucien Bagwell. If you look that up, I still have videos up on YouTube and stuff. I walked around at about 235 pounds right here. Pretty athletic. It definitely wasn't my leanest or my biggest, but it was something I was able to maintain through the whole wrestling career. I did get bigger and smaller, etc., but you really needed to be able to move. So carrying a whole lot of mass probably wasn't the best idea, and like you wind up sucking wind during the match. So the streamlined 235 I thought was a good look, and I was able to maintain my athleticism here and not get injured. This next picture I'm sitting at about 255. This is in 2007. I rebounded off a show, gained about 35 or 40 pounds like within a few weeks. I maintained this condition for quite a while. This is actually one of my favorite looks. I was kind of bloated, not too fat at this point, and I was maintaining like a good fullness all the time, bigger than the average person, but not so big that I couldn't really move. And I felt pretty comfortable at this weight, but of course it's hard to maintain this shit. Here I'm sitting about probably 200 pounds. This is 2010 before the Lehigh Valley Championships. This is what I looked like about a week and a half, 2 weeks out. I completely looked like shit the day of the show. I depleted. I tried to make weight. I wound up being about 203 or 204 or something like that. Trying to make light heavies, didn't make them. Tried to fill out afterwards, not enough time. You guys know the story, but this is what I was looking like a week and a half out. What I should have done is fucking nothing. I should have done absolutely nothing and just went in that show as I was. Just dropped the water the night before and just stayed as a heavy. I was still a heavyweight anyways, but the loading and trying to fill out just fucked everything up. Here is about 2011. I was weighing about 255 pounds around here again. Not my leanest look, a little bloated, a little fat, but overall I was trying to get bigger. I was trying to maintain my mass. I knew I had to be bigger in order to be competitive, and that was the main goal. It was always to try to get bigger but maintain my shape, which, no matter how big I got, I always did maintain that shape. So that was, the main goal, to get bigger but don't look like a fucking bloat hog. This is in 2012 with the owner of Big Bitch Formula, my buddy Bobby. Big Bitch Formula was the first company to ever give me a shot to be sponsored by them and actually pay me. So this started probably early on in the 2012 season, and I can't thank them enough and him enough for giving me that shot, because it was a lifelong dream that came true, and it took a lot of years of work. But as you can see here, I'm probably sitting at about 230, 240 pounds in decent condition. This is 2012, the night before the Maryland Championships. Now, in 2011, I failed miserably. I had dieted from 265 down to 207, ran out of time, went into the show anyways with one of my clients, so I wasn't in my best shape. So the idea was to get back in the top 5 and bring a better shape and overall package than I did in 2011, which I did do. Now, I could have been harder. At this point, I was starting to fill out. The idea was to try to come in as full as I could and still stay dry, which is very hard balancing that shit and trying to do that. And this is the next day on stage, where you can see I'm still very flat, watery, no pop to my muscles. I totally missed the timing of it, and it's okay. I did what I wanted to do. I got in the top 5 again. I think I got 4th at this show, and that was the goal. The goal was to get back in the top 5 and reestablish myself as one of the top competitors in our area. And this next picture is the same day on stage, hitting that twisting bicep pose, which is a very hard pose to do. So many people fuck it up. But I really prided myself when I was competing at bodybuilding to be able to do some of the poses classically and do them right. And it took a lot of practice, but I feel like, this is one of those poses that just looks great when it's hit. Right after placing 4th with Kevin Levrone backstage, I actually won a Highlander sword, which is my first sword I ever won, which is so cool. And to have Kevin back there, supporting me and egging me on and pushing me during that final, few hours where I just wanted to crack and eat, I meant a whole lot. And this picture is me, super composed with Kevin. And this is my 2007 form, which was one of my best forms that I felt like could have been a pro quality physique. I think I weighed 201 here, or 199, I think. Kevin, of course, 230, 240. And I figured if I could look like I belong on a pro stage, then I should have some attributes of a pro. And I figured if I looked like that next to Kevin, then I'd have a shot at the Nationals. So I put the pictures together and said, you know what, let's give this thing a try again. And ultimately I failed. But this is probably one of my best forms. This is 2013, the night before the Delaware, which I placed 2nd. The idea was to get as shredded more shredded than I had ever been, and I totally accomplished that. I was so dry for this show that even the judges were like, what the fuck? But, you know, I got beat out by a bigger guy. So, you know, they always say conditioning wins shows. I got beat out by a bigger, fatter guy who actually had fat in his glutes. And you'll see in the next series of pictures, these are all from this time. I did fill out overnight. This is another picture from that. You can see how hard and grainy and vascular everything was. You can actually see my pec tear on that left pec, which is on the right side of your screen, but me looking at you, it's on the left. That little indentation is actually the deform from the torn pec, which I always had super symmetrical pec. So as soon as I saw that, I was pretty upset. Here's a side chest shot. You can see where the glutes and hamstrings and everything tie in, the feathering. Everything was just hard and separated, which that was my goal. My goal was to come in super separated and say, you know, at least once in my life I was so shredded. I was, you know, more shredded than everybody else, and I accomplished that goal. This is probably about a week after I rebounded, and I was back up to probably maybe about 200 pounds or so around there. Just in the gym, fucking around with the camera. And this next picture right here is 2014, I'm sorry. Or was it 15? No, 14. In Mexico, when I first started going the slim down route, the aesthetic route, I decided to lose the muscle off the toe of my rotator cuff and getting used to my new physique and not being as big as I was. And this is probably about as fat as I get now when I'm off season. I literally don't like to get any fatter than this, which, you know, some people would be like, oh, Jerry, you still look like shit. But, you know, it is what it is. It's more of the streamlined athletic look, like, you know, one of the WWE wrestler type looks. And, you know, I can maintain this year round and not have to kill myself and diet and do all kinds of cardio and shit. So it's just getting used to it. It's just something different. And, you know, at this point, I'm just kind of used to it. But at first, it was a little hard. This picture was actually taken at a photo shoot in 2014. This is probably the best picture I've ever taken. It's my favorite picture of myself. It just shows, you know, my physique, I feel like, to the fullest, the symmetry of it, the shape. I'm toned down. I'm probably about 195 pounds here, maybe a little bit tighter, maybe about 193. But this is pretty much where I'm at now. I maintain this now, and this is where I plan on staying. So hope you guys enjoy this. My life in pictures again. Things are kind of cool, so.